Hi, Year 11. Just us again, history, here to nag you with some top tips for revision. So here we go. These are our 5 top tips. So if you don't know where to start, watching this is a really great place to get you moving on some revision. The first tip we're going to look at is about knowing your enemy, knowing that exam paper inside out. The second one is all about timelines. We have the benefit of being chronological, so it makes sense to organise your notes in that way. Tip 3 is just a reminder of all those little tools we've given you to try and chunk information and remember things more effectively. Tip 4, we've just put a slide in with some ideas of the types of activities that you could be doing as revision activities. And then finally, tip 5, we pointed you in the direction of some great video resources that are really fab to just sit back and watch. If you just have 10-15 minutes, it'll be really helpful to you. Okay, tip 1, know the enemy. Spend time revising how to answer the exam questions. Exam technique is as big a deal as the knowledge, really, because unless you're answering the questions in the right way, it doesn't matter how much brilliant knowledge you're putting down. So to help you do that, we're suggesting you use AQA websites to look at past papers. I'll include a link on that when I upload it to your Teams area to direct you straight to the right places. Watch the walkthrough, talk-through videos that we've made for you and put on your Teams pages. Mr. Murray and I walked you through and talked you through 2 exam papers, so you can listen to us explain the exam technique, and then we go through the knowledge as well. If you weren't in lessons and you missed those, then you really should watch them. They're absolutely great for getting you to know the exam papers. Finally, practice questions. There are absolutely bags of these saved onto your Teams page area in your revision folder. Inside your folders, you'll see a folder inside a folder that says exam practice. Inside there's loads of practice exam questions. Planning them is just as useful as writing them. So if you're a bit overfaced with trying to write a lot of practice questions, just have a go at planning them. What would you say if you were answering that question instead? And finally, I really recommend writing your own how to answer guide for each paper, perhaps a one-sheet one that you can just have a quick look through before your exam starts as well, just to really remind yourself. When you're sitting in that exam room and you've got your exam sheet in front of you, make sure you go through and look at the questions properly. Read the end of the question. Make sure you're answering that bit. Are you using the right knowledge? Do little iceberg plans. Write COP next to the source question. For the significance question on medicine, write before, at the time, long term. Go through and annotate your paper before you start. Then you've got your guide all ready. You know exactly what you're doing for each question. 1 minute doing that will make everything a lot smoother as you're trying to go through the paper. Tip 2, chronology, timelines. Timelines are a really great way to start off some revision because you can build them. You can start off with the timeline, plot the time periods onto it, and then start with maybe one thing. Start with individuals through medicine. Plot your main individuals on. Get one in each time period. Then go back and do another one in each time period. See how much you can do without looking at your books. Then when you get stuck, get the books out, have a look, start to build on it. If you've got an individual for medicine, can you then start thinking about what they actually did? What knowledge have you got about their discoveries? Try to get at least one fact, if you can, onto each individual. Then you can build up the next time you look at it and have a look at factors. Where have we got factors influencing through time? And then you can go back again and look for positives and negatives, helps and hindering. You don't have to do all of that at once. Build it over a week. Do half an hour a day. Or perhaps break it up into time periods. Start with the Middle Ages, then do the Renaissance, etc., etc. For World War I, my suggestion is to look at causes, battles, and then the end of the war. We haven't got on to the end of the war yet, so focus on the causes and the battles. Start by thinking about leadership, maybe, key knowledge for each one, and use those big picture sheets. You've got one pictured on the slide just there. We've given you those for medicine and World War I. They're brilliant revision tools as well. In fact, I would argue if you do nothing else to revise before your CAP exams, that's the thing to do. That and watching those videos on us talking through exam papers. To help you get started, I've given you a bit of a bare bone of a timeline on each of these. So you'll see causes up to 1914, battles, and then 1917-18 we start moving into the end of the war. On your medicine one up at the top, I've put germ theory on. It's so important that you get those 19th century breakthroughs right around germ theory. So for example, Lister and carbolic acid has to come after germ theory because to make antiseptics, you've got to know the cause of disease. However, anaesthetics, crucially, and before germ theory. That way you understand that although we got rid of pain, infection was still a big problem. Line up your ducks, that's what I keep saying to my classes. Get everything plotted, line them all up in the right place so you understand that big story of medicine through time. Okay, next one. A lot of my class have been asking me to put all of these in one place, so hopefully this is going to be helpful to a few of you. We've taught you a lot of little word tools and things to remember all this vast amount of knowledge that we're asking you to hold on to. Knowledge really is power. The more information, the better, the more specific that you can get it, the better it will be in your exams. So the next two slides just cover some of the memory tools that we've given you to help chunk information together, to make it a little bit easier for you to hold on to. This one's helping the people. So you can see you've got COP up there for the source questions, you've got Bill Worms going crazy in sushi camps for question 4. Tampax for provenance. Remember, you don't have to use all of them. You can just choose one or two that are relevant to that question. I teach my classes V for Vesalius. So you make a V with your finger and your thumb and you hold it up to your chin. Vesalius is the jawbone. He proves the jawbone is just one bone, unlike Galen said when it was 2. If you can remember the jawbone for Vesalius, you can remember that anatomy in the Renaissance is really all about questioning the work of Vesalius, proving him wrong. Louis Pasteur, pasteurization. We pasteurize milk to kill off the germs. Louis Pasteur, germs, germ theory. That one's a little tenuous, I know, but it might help you just latch onto it. Harvey Hartman, Sleepy Simpson, and then Listerine for Joseph Lister. I'll let you have a look through those in your own time. Next slide is World War I. So again, just a couple of exam tips on the top. The iceberg for the factors, and then we've got the how useful question. American entry, lust, beer, the Schlieffen plan, the Kaiser. This one's a big one for me. You can spot the Kaiser in a sauce. Pointy hat, silly mustache. He'll always look like that in a sauce, particularly an English sauce where they're trying to ridicule him. Think about your Western front battles and your Eastern front battles. Important that you can distinguish between the two. Don't start, for example, writing about Gallipoli in a question on the Western Front. And then just in the bottom, I've clustered 1917 as a turning point, quite a few big events in 1917. So having them all together there might help you later on. The battles, I've put them all in a chronological order for you. And I've given you just one key word to help you remember each battle. Make your own of those. Make flashcards, battle on one side, keywords on the back. Try and make it a question if you can to help yourself interleave and improve that memory. Right, ways for revising. We're really keen that you make everything revision testing. Instead of just writing out, reams and reams of information that won't go in, make quizzes. Make questions on one side of your flashcards, answers on the other. Testing yourself is such a stronger way of getting things into your head. I love this idea and it's so simple. Just get a blank piece of paper, start with something in the middle, the Battle of the Somme, don't mind, and mind map everything off the top of your head. What can you remember? Then watch your GCSE pod. See if you can add to it with the GCSE pod information. After that, go to your books. Check, is there anything else that you've missed? Then put that to one side and do it again. Start from nothing and build it again. Perhaps leave it a day and do it again. That gap in between makes your memory even stronger. You don't need anything. You don't need any tools. It won't take you long. You just need 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. What can you remember? Okay. So there's some tips just on this slide here. Test yourself, retest yourself. That's what I just said. Leave it a day and do it again. Revision quilts. You used one of those with me on the factors the other day where I put loads of information, you categorized it. Can you make your own revision quilts? That would be a really good tip. Timelines we've already talked about. Exam questions we've talked about. Flashcards. Like I said, if you're making flashcards, a question on one side, an answer on the back. That way you can ask someone in your family to test you. If it's just a list of bullet points, just reading it won't be enough. Mind maps are super strong, but make sure you try and do them from your head. Don't mind map with a book in front of you, mind map with nothing. And finally, at the end, we're just pointing you in the direction of some really good video resources. Videos are great because they're so easy, aren't they? Compared to writing out and doing exam practice, watching a quick video can really do wonders for you. At the bottom here, these BBC Teach Medicine ones, they're amazing. They're brand new. They only made them last year. They're really well done. They're really knowledgeable. They're a great place to start. If you make a mind map on, for example, medieval medicine, do it from your head first, then watch the video and add to it, right? But make sure you're doing it from your head first. At the side, there's GCSE pods. There's tons in there, and they've got loads of great facts and key bits of information. There are links for you all over this. There's also a World War I section. The World War I section is broader, and there's more in there that might not be as relevant to you. But that said, any knowledge around that conflict is valuable. Try to focus it on the causes if you can. Try to focus it on the battles, the weapons, the things that you studied in class. Avoid things like the home front or propaganda, things that we haven't studied, and choose the ones that are relevant to what we've done. Go on YouTube and just type the Battle of Jutland. Watch a documentary on it. Go onto YouTube and type the Battle of the Somme. There'll definitely be them out there. Go and have a look, see what you can convince your family to watch with you. Even watching more modern films like 1917 is a really good one at understanding the conflict, being able to violence and the reasons for the high casualties on the Western Front. Just be careful with making sure that it's age appropriate, that's all I'll say. Okay, those are our top tips for history revision. So if I just go back to slide 1 to summarise on those. Know your enemy, exam technique. Timelines, brilliant for us. Remember those don't forget slides, print them out, then you can remember them and use them to test yourself. How to revise, try the strategies that we're guiding you with. Make sure you're testing yourself and not just reading. And finally, those BBC Teach resources, particularly the Helping the People, they're really, really fab, and they're easily split into each time period. Okay, best of luck Year 11. I'm sure you'll do brilliantly. You've had so much help and guidance. It's now over to you. Just make sure you spend this weekend spending half an hour here and there doing something small but powerful, right? Okie doke. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.